Hey, I hope everyone is doing great. I'm here on the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, so maybe you're out shopping and getting some sort of wonderful deals, or maybe you're cyber shopping. Anyway, I hope you are enjoying this holiday weekend and looking forward to the holiday season as we head on in towards Christmas and a time of gift giving and lights and general good cheer. So I hope the holidays are great for you and your family. Today, we're going to continue our series on the Beatitudes, and we've been looking so far, I think, the first three or four Beatitudes. And today we're going to look at kind of a change. The ones we've seen up until now have been more about dealing with our position towards God, our demeanor, how we feel, and the way we're positioning ourselves in order to listen and learn and grow and change and how we feel about drawing near to God. Today, a little bit different in that we're going to have really something that we're directed to do. But before we jump into that, as it is the Thanksgiving weekend, I wanted to divide our lesson today in basically two parts. And the first part of which is focused on gratitude and just being grateful for all the things that God has done for us and being grateful for the people in our lives. And of course, trusting how God has put them in there to help us grow and mature or be strengthened and encouraged, or however we all interact with each other. But I have here, just to start off, a few thoughts or effects. You can find many of these, but these are 5 effects of gratitude. 1, it changes the neural structures in our brain, and it makes us feel happier and content. So maybe that makes our brains a little less scrambled, but I'm all for feeling happier and more content. It's also been proven to reduce toxic aggression, frustration, and regret even after receiving negative feedback. So it allows us to overcome a lot of the negativity that faces us and in our world, and maybe some of it that we generate in our own lives. Also, it helps us to sleep better, makes us more motivated to exercise. There's reduced symptoms of physical pain, and it lowers your levels of inflammation and lower blood pressure. So we could all be a little healthier going into the holidays, and hopefully it'll help us maybe not eat quite so many sweet treats. Also, it's shown that regular gratitude journaling, like writing down the things you're grateful for, increases our optimism anywhere from 5 to 15%, and helps us to sleep better at night. And lastly here, employees who experience more gratitude at work report fewer depressive symptoms and stress. So at work, if you're busy being grateful for your coworkers or your employees or employer, it just helps create a better atmosphere for everybody. So those are 5 little fun facts about gratitude. But exactly what are we to look at? And I thought there's 2 scriptures here we could look at that might be helpful to us. And the first one is Psalm 107 in verse 21. It says, "Let them give thanks to the Lord for his faithful love and his wonderful works for all humanity." And I think this just really, if you take a step back and look at this scripture in the Psalms, it's about, let's be grateful for who God is. That he is loving, that he's caring, that he's nurturing, that he has done so many wonderful things for all of us. The rain does fall on the just and the unjust. I mean, God is benevolent towards everybody all the time, especially more so towards his own children. But God is a generous God and a God filled with love. Are we grateful for his character? And I think that is one of the challenges, is to remember all the things that we are grateful for about God. I think often we can look at God, and our general question revolves around why. As in, why hasn't this good thing that I want to happen hasn't happened yet? And we have a more of a negative stance too often towards God and things not being done, and we miss out on all the great things that he is doing. And that would just, I believe, help our spirit, help our relationship with God, help us to feel closer to God. So all of those, I think, are super important just on how we view God. And then there's another passage I think that goes along well with this, and we can see that in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. And it says, give thanks in everything. I'm sorry, chapter 5, verse 18. It says, give thanks in everything, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. So Paul here is encouraging the Thessalonians to give thanks in everything. This is God's will for us, is to be thankful. And we have so many things that we can be thankful for. Thankful for the different people in our lives, thankful for material blessings and physical blessings and spiritual blessings. Thankful for some of the simple things in life, like being able to go out and get a coffee and relax with a good friend and have a good heart-to-heart conversation, or being able to take a walk in the woods, or just a blessing of having time with family during the holidays, or blessing of memories from that. But there's so many things that we could express that we can be grateful for. I mean, when you actually start to list out all the things and start to really kind of drill down into some of the details about things that we can be thankful for. One of the things I've often thought is that, we can take these simple things in life for granted when we look at people that are in war-torn countries or in very difficult circumstances, or maybe they're caught in an abusive situation or whatever, and we could take for granted just, what a blessing it is to be able to go down and get a cup of coffee with a friend. What it's like to be able to take a walk around the neighborhood, or that it's a quiet and peaceful place where we live. I mean, there's so many things. And then, of course, there's many blessings on top of that in our lives, and all of the people, and whether it's children or spouses or parents or friends, there's so many people that we can be grateful for. And ironically, so many people we can be grateful for that maybe they made our life a little bit more difficult, but in the end, we learned a lesson that has just changed our lives forever. God does truly move in mysterious ways. But, I've been grateful for, many people throughout the years. One guy that I found very difficult to get along with, and, it was really hard to have any sort of friendship with him, actually ended up giving me great advice about my marriage. And I took it, and it really worked out and helped, even if it didn't necessarily improve our friendship. But God was able to use that. You know what? I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the difficult person that God put in my life that actually gave me some advice that made a big difference. And so right now, I'd like for us just to pause for a second here, if you would like, or you can wait till the end. I've kind of changed the format just a little bit. And so I'll pop up a question here, and you can hit the pause button, or you can wait till the end and do them all there. But what I would like for us to do right now is just to take time expressing the things and or people or situations and the characteristics of God that you're grateful for. There's no specific formula here, and maybe you're moved to be grateful about one thing more than another, but I think it'd just be a good time to express the things that we're thankful for. Well, it is good to be grateful. But we're going to go ahead and move on to today's Beatitude in Matthew chapter 5. And in verse 7, it says, "Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy." Now, I don't know about you, but I like it when people show me mercy, because that usually means I've blown it in some way. I've said something that was, offensive or difficult or harsh, or I've done something. Maybe it's been a big thing, maybe it's been a medium thing or a small thing, but I find myself in need of mercy on a really frequent basis. I think that's just life. We as humans poke into each other. We say things that are taken the wrong way. We say things that are unintentionally hurtful, or worse yet, we say things that are intentionally hurtful or do things. And so I'm always in need of mercy. And it says here, "Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy." So I like the part about being shown mercy. But what God is saying here is that the ones that are blessed, that are supremely happy, or as I said, I think it was last week, you lucky dog, or the week before, is the one that is merciful. So it's a call to action. And I think there's two ways we can look at that. I think both are in view here. And there's one where it is the call to actually show mercy, as in helping someone out who's in need. If someone is hungry, being merciful to them would be helping them to eat. Then the other aspect of it is merciful, as in, I believe, granting forgiveness. And I think that's a lot of times more of what we have in view. when we talk about it in Christianity, but actually both are super important. So we're going to start by turning to Matthew chapter 15, and we're going to look in verse 22, and this is a famous passage about a Canaanite woman who at that time were not associating with the Jews, but she comes to Jesus and she has a request. And in verse 22 it says, a Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him crying out, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is suffering terribly from demon possession. So this woman here is just crying out for help. I need aid. I need someone to rescue me. It could be a physical, it could be spiritual, it could be emotional, but someone in a dire situation that needs some form of rescue. Here, she's hoping that Jesus will heal her daughter of this demon possession, cast the demon out, that she'd be able to be restored to her right mind and be free from this suffering. It says here she's suffering terribly. But, that's what it is in life, is when we suffer. When things are going difficult for us, when there's hardship happening, we want relief, and sometimes the suffering is relatively minor. We make it bigger than it is, but man, I'm really hungry. I haven't eaten since lunch. That's not really suffering. But there's the suffering of, I can't afford the medicine that I need to keep me healthy. Right now, the bills are ahead. I've lost my job, and I don't know how I'm going to provide for my family. Or I'm just overwhelmed with life. I don't know how to process it all. It's like it's all crashing down on me. I need help to find the way out. And it's that intervention where someone steps in and says, oh no, this is the way to go. Or here's some help. Here, let me provide food for you. Or let me, help you fix this thing in your house that there's no way you could afford to get it fixed. I remember a friend of mine, Rick Overturf. He's up in Triangle. And he is like Captain Fix-It. And so I was actually up there visiting him. I stayed with him, but I was there for a friend of mine who was graduating with his PhD. And so I was up there. But while we're there, Rick's a busy guy, and yet he's got this car that he's busy taking apart and putting back together again because this single mom was, in need of car repairs that she couldn't afford. And, Rick's a busy guy, and yet he was finding time, carving out time, working on this car, trying to make it so that she would be able to have what she needed and be able to afford it because he was doing it for her. And that was just an act of mercy. On the mercy scale, is that the biggest act or the smallest act? No, but I know she was grateful. I know she appreciated someone stepping in and helping her out in her time of need. Sometimes small acts of mercy are just someone, at work or a neighbor or whatever, and it's just, it's a hug, it's a word of encouragement, it's a smile, it's a short talk on the phone. It just, a few minutes, it can help lift somebody's spirits or, buying somebody lunch or whatever. And then I think maybe there's medium acts of mercy where you have that appointment and you dive into a deeper conversation to help them really work through, maybe an understanding of something spiritual or working through a situation in their family. Maybe it's stopping to, buy a homeless man lunch to make sure that you didn't spend the money in the wrong place and yet meeting a felt need. Or maybe, you see someone and they're struggling to pay for the groceries and you go ahead and, pay it forward and buy their groceries at the grocery store. And maybe there's large acts of mercy where we take in a refugee, or we mentor a troubled soul, or we figure out how to help someone who's caught in a very challenging situation. We can do all of these. We cannot do all of these all the time. Yet we must live merciful lives. And so here the question I would like for us to ponder is, how can we live lives of showing mercy to the hurting without overwhelming ourselves? So we've looked at the first layer of mercy, which is to meet a felt need. But here's another layer of mercy. Let's go to Matthew chapter 9 in verse 13. It says, Jesus is talking here, but go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. So Jesus is talking to the Pharisees here, and they're questioning, why is he eating with sinners? And what Jesus has done is he's gone to Matthew's house, and there's tax collectors and prostitutes there, and these are people that are obviously leading a sinful life. But Jesus is saying, look, we can get mad at all these people for not living a righteous life, or we can put a hand out to help them. The Pharisees were experts at making sure all the sacrifices were observed and offered in a right and proper way. But we can do all of that, but if we don't have the right heart, if we don't have a heart of mercy, then that doesn't really solve a problem. So they're feeling very content they've performed all the right sacrifices and they're living a righteous life, and yet they're not able to reach out and help other people to get out of the pit. And that's what Jesus came to do. And so he's saying, look, what is our disposition towards those who are in need? Are we tempted to look down on others because of their sin? And frequently the case is we're looking down on them because their sin is messed up. But our sin, well, that's understandable. I mean, I got to repent and overcome it, but gosh, it just seems more normal to me. And the truth is, we both need help. We both are in need of someone reaching out and helping us to overcome sin. And another layer to this is, being merciful in the sense we're asking God to be merciful to us is to forgive. And we also need to be merciful and forgive others who've sinned against us. Because we realize that we've sinned against other people and we've sinned against God, and we're grateful for when people forgive. We certainly are very grateful for God's forgiveness. And yet, how can we expect to receive God's forgiveness if we're not willing to extend it? And to go, yeah, I've been there. That doesn't mean we don't need to talk through things. But at the end of the day, not everybody wants to talk things through with us. That still doesn't mean we don't need to be merciful. And being merciful is not the exact same thing as extending trust, because sometimes people have broken trust, but we cannot extend full trust. At the same time, we can be merciful and forgive. But bottom line, what God is doing is he said, hey, be like me. Have this heart of mercy and care and concern so that we can lift each other up, help each other up to be on the path to righteousness, to overcome sin, to say no to what is evil and yes to what is good. Have that heart of help and growth and transformation. It's not about us being owed, but about us realizing that we are the one that owes. And since we are grateful for that mercy, to extend that to others. And so the question I have for you here is, what stops you from being merciful? Or maybe you want to answer this question about what helps you to be merciful. Well, brothers and sisters, I hope that this has helped you today to both be thankful and merciful in all of its aspects. And these are both two great aspects to carry into the Christmas season as we enter the holidays and are hopefully exhibiting the Spirit of Christ. And for those of you that have waited to the end, I'll put all 3 discussion questions up here at the end. But I hope you have a great day and a very Spirit-filled Christmas.